circle with the superhero movie genre, done all the dhoom dhadaka, and we've arrived back to where it all started. What would you do if you had the ability to change the world? Hey all, my name is Sucharita. I'm a film critic and this is my channel where all my reviews and interviews now live almost exclusively. Before we proceed, may I request consider clicking that subscribe button so you don't miss any updates and uploads. So today we're talking about Ryan Coogler's Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, now in movie theaters.
And when I wake up,
We're back in Wakanda with its people still protecting their vast resources of vibranium as the outside world continues to plot ways to steal or purchase it. T'Challa's mother, Ramonda, is the country's sole international representative now as Shuri continues to work on developing better tech to protect Wakanda's borders and wealth. Watching superhero movies now, my attention is less on the story, screenplay, etc., which obviously need to be good for a movie to work, but because this genre has pervaded our lives in such a massive, undeniably impactful manner, it's difficult to ignore. Whole fan armies are rallying for extended director's cuts, studios are giving in, big budget video games, etc., etc. The universe keeps expanding with each new release and each new big movie star entrant like Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson or Jim from The Office. Amidst this, do you really blame Taika Waititi to fall into the trappings of the promised fame and fortune and make a second Thor movie which turned out to be a pale imitation of its own path-breaking first version? Ragnarok broke the mold Thor was set in and created a new superhero. Funnier, relatable and still mighty, Love and Thunder gave us Russell Crowe sounding like Borat and two screaming goats.
I just want to say that was very, very impressive what you did back there.
Black Adam, on the other hand, was also a grift. Multiverse of Madness felt like a cash grab. We've seen these enhanced individuals now for a long time. Unless Matt Reeves steps in and creates a newer Batman, which is a nearly impossible task, you'll need nothing short of 3 Spider-Men reprising their roles to make these movies stick with a saturated audience. For Wakanda Forever, director Ryan Coogler co-writes the screenplay with Joe Robert Cole, uninterested in reinventing the wheel. Instead, they go for the heart of the previous movie's conflict and expose it further to their audience. Yes, there are immense underwater set pieces, which we will come to shortly, but Wakanda Forever is a deeply political, anti-war film exploring the sociology of race and ethnic relations and their impact on personal relations within societies. The film addresses imperialism not as a relic of the past, but as a power dynamic still at play in our world, rooting this fictional creation of Wakanda and everything and superheroes in reality by using recognizable people like Anderson Cooper to read news on TV screens. One character attends MIT, we visit her dorms. So Black Panther and Queen Ramonda might be make-believe, but the essence behind what they are saying and the implications of other countries not taking them seriously are very real.
no woman, no cry.
One can sense the presence of Chadwick Boseman throughout this film. It opens with a sequence addressing his passing. The Marvel clip montage in the beginning, it's silent in his memory, and do stick around for one of the most moving and impactful mid-credits scenes that's been delivered in a minute. While this movie's trailer doesn't quite reveal who becomes the next Black Panther, and I won't either, no spoilers, how that person gets there, their resistance, anger, what fuels their desire to rise to the mantle despite their own reservations is what holds this film together. This character's very raw nerves are made painfully visible until they hide them beneath the Black Panther suit.
They have lost their protector.
The onus to bring Wakanda into a new era of international cooperation or non-cooperation, I'm not saying, this time is exclusively on women. Princess Shuri finds herself in a sudden leadership role after the passing of her brother T'Challa, but not without an entire phalanx of women around her for support and guidance. There's Queen Ramonda, General Okoye, a new entrant Riri Williams as Iron Heart, the spy Nakia, without obviously pointing out, look, we've got women! Like that one shot in Avengers Endgame, you remember? You know which one I'm talking about, right? Wakanda Forever simply plays out in a world where people have moved on from asking about a person's ability to do things basis their gender or sexual orientation. Men aren't the only natural saviors and protectors. Not all women are to be rescued. Of course, it helps that the actors playing these parts project a colossal shadow over everyone and everything else sharing screen space with them. There's Lupita Nyong'o, Danai Gurira, Angela frickin' Bassett, Letitia Wright. The cast list is long and immense. Another newcomer in this universe is Tenoch Huerta, who plays Namor, the anti-hero Wakanda has to deal with this time. He's a godlike creature with winged feet leading an army of blue-tinged humanoid warriors who, like him, dwell in the deep sea. Choosing Namor as a lead character probably made production 100 times harder, because now you're not just competing with your own previous movie in terms of scale and size in the larger MCU, but also, at least in my head, you're competing with James Cameron's upcoming Avatar: Way of the Water. If that reference doesn't make sense, please go watch the new trailer for that one. It's so good. You could insert clips from this one into that one and it'll look the same. Not to say Coogler doesn't rise to this weird, unexpected challenge which probably exists in my own head. The subaquatic sequences are a sight to behold. One can only imagine the production that went into making them happen. You know, when this movie is not serving up the gigantic set pieces and the Jabari chest beating fights, it's exceptionally quiet. There is a silent lament continuously present, mourning not just T'Challa's loss, but what feels like the state of affairs of our current war-ridden, angry, manic world. Also, very consciously, Marvel is introducing Gen Z characters in a lot of their new films. Here we have a 19-year-old Riri Williams set to become Ironheart. Miss Marvel got her own series. Thor has a daughter named Love going into battle with him. America Chavez from Doctor Strange, and a bunch more. Clearly, the MCU's spread is not slowing down anytime soon. One can just hope newer stories are being told by filmmakers like Ryan Coogler, who have a story to tell. So, on a scale of 1 to 10, Wakanda Forever is 440 Fenty ka foundation shade Okoye is wearing and discussing with Shuri. Is this the first superhero film where women are talking about makeup without being projected as dumb or demure? Love to see it.
Can be great leaders.
If you love to see or even like to see my work, subscribe to my channel, please. This week we're also talking about Monica, Oh My Darling on Netflix, Unchai in movie theaters, and The Crown Season 5 also on Netflix. My name is Acharita. Thank you for stopping by.